Hey everyone, and welcome to Skillcapped. There's an exciting new meta that has been developing in both the pro scene and high-ranked solo queue that's insanely strong, which involves farming alt orbs. For those of you who don't keep up with the pro scene, there's a pro team in Europe called Heretics, and they recently won Europeans First Strike, the biggest tournament in Valorant's history. And one of the key strategies they implemented was getting control of alt orbs at the start of the round to farm them. For example, on the map Bind, they would pick Sage. In the previous meta, Sage would simply wall off short A at the start of the round to help get control of that key part of the map. However, what Heretics did instead was wall off Showers, so that Sage could take the alt orb for free every single round. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Brimstone would smoke off B long and take the alt orb there. This was their approach to every single map. For example, on Haven, they would throw a Sage Slow at the start of the round to prevent enemies from pushing in, then again, look to take that alt orb. Given that this pro team Heretics beat well-known European pro teams like Team Liquid and G2 Esports with this alt farming strategies, players are realizing the strength of it and have started to incorporate it into their own play. And although pro teams are adapting to it and high-ranked Immortal and Radiant players are becoming aware of it, the rest of the player base really hasn't caught on at all. And so what I'm going to show you in this guide is how you can execute this strategy yourself with a wide variety of different agents to give you a massive advantage over your opponents. Now, before we head into the first round, remember you can access the full live commentaries of all the games you're about to see on our website, skillcapped.com, link in the description below. It's there you'll not only find over 700 premium Valorant guides, but also have up-to-date lineups for your favorite agents, detailed map breakdowns of the best strategies and spots to play, and an expanding library of live Smurf commentaries by some of the top Valorant players breaking down how you too can climb out of every rank in Valorant, ranging from Iron to Diamond. All of this can be unlocked with no risk with our rank improvement guarantee, so click the link in the description below, head to skillcapped.com, and get the rank you've always wanted. Alright, let's start off with a game of me playing Raze on Haven, smurfing in Bronze Elo. On Haven, you want to ask your teammates to let you solo hold a site on defense so you can go for this alt orb every single round. You simply pre-nade it as Raze, holding the angle until it explodes, then as it explodes you go for the alt orb. Take note of how we don't see anyone. This is one of the strengths of this alt farming strategy on Haven. You get a lot of early intel looking into a lobby, which can allow for early fast rotates. We see an enemy Reyna's Leer ability on the minimap and so commit to the fast rotate to see site. We make sure to group with our team and timer push into the site with them to overwhelm the enemy attackers. However, what's important to note with this strategy is how I asked for the defuse. This is because defusing the spike grants you an alt point. In fact, this is a good moment to go over what exactly gives you alt points in Valorant. Alt orbs, a kill, a death, defusing the spike, and planting the spike all grant 1 alt point each. So heading into round 2, you can see by only getting 1 kill, gathering the alt orb, and getting the defuse, I now have 3 alt points. I start the round with the same strategy, pre-nading a lobby to take the alt orb, however, I spot an enemy crossing. My pre-nade isolates him from his team, and since we won the first round, I know I have the gun advantage, so I swing to take the fight. However, what's important to note is how this early peek on A long gives me such early intel, along with the pre-nade delaying the enemy's push, that my teammates are already rotating to help defend a site. Essentially, on Haven, if no enemies appear, you get a free alt orb and you stack the rest of the map with your teammates. However, if they do appear, you can get early intel for rotates to come through while you delay the push with your pre-nade. Heading to round 3, we see the same strategy and how now I'm only 1 point off my ultimate. We didn't spot any enemies while our teammates spotted some at grass, so we go for our standard early rotate. We decide to cover C site since none of our teammates are watching it. It's then we notice the enemy is pushing B site on the minimap, and so that C long orb is free for us to take. This now gives us our ultimate, and we begin to push the flank as the enemy tries to take B site. I end up in a 1v2. I make sure to wait for the enemy to plant before I peek so that I can get a free kill on them. I then hear the last enemy to my right, so I instantly pop ult and get a free kill there. Keep in mind, I just got Raze ultimate on round 3. That is insane. If I'm able to keep up my alt farming at this rate, I'd have a Raze ultimate every 3 rounds, so 4 ults for each half of the game. Keep in mind, you can use this alt farming strategy on Haven with practically every single agent. If you're playing Sage, throw a slow, peek and hold the angle while you wait for it to land, then go for the alt orb. If you're playing Brimstone or Omen or Viper, just smoke it off and go for it instantly. Phoenix can use his wall as well, or his E ability to molly off a push by the enemy. I'm sure you're starting to get the idea. Now, this alt farming strategy works different when you're attacking on Haven, as the positioning of the alt orbs doesn't make for an easy farming strategy at the start of the round. Instead, you want to ask for the spike each round, since planting the spike will give you an alt orb. Then, when attacking any site, you want to take the path that has the alt orb on it, so you can take it along the way to the site. As you can see in this clip, we attack a site, I make sure to go A long for the alt orb, I get 1 kill and then die, and I already have 3 alt points heading into round 2. By taking orbs on the way of the attack and making sure to take the spike to plant it every round, I'm able to get my ultimate on round 3 once again as Raze. Now let's take a look at how to execute this strategy on Split. In this case, it's in silver and I'm playing Sage. On Split, you want to control the B Garage alt orb on defense due to the layout of the map. This allows you to throw a slow while you jiggle peek. If you don't spot an enemy, then you can take the orb for free since the slow stops them from swinging on you. Same idea as the previous replay, we didn't spot anyone so we can rotate early, as well as check our minimap to rotate wherever we spot the enemies. In this case, we have to rotate to A site, we're able to get 1 kill in a heaven, but then die shortly after. Here's what's amazing about this strategy though, we farmed 1 alt orb, got 1 kill, and died once, so we now have 3 alt points on the first round. Heading into the second round, we look to execute the same strategy, but we hear an enemy pre-firing us, so we just fall back, call for the rotates, and hold the site. This eventually allows us to get 1 kill and pick up a stinger, into then having to rotate A, where we are able to pick up a second kill. Suddenly, this looks awfully similar to our previous replay of Raze on Bind, where on round 3, only 2 alt points off our ultimate. We start the round as normal, jiggle peek to throw our slow, we hear gunshots pre-firing us, so we fall back and call for rotates. I make sure to wall off and play this off angle on top of it with the stinger, however, we lose mid control and the entire enemy team looks to flood in from B heaven. Not being able to hold the site with just a stinger against an entire enemy team, I make the correct decision to fall back into B garage to take the alt orb there and play the retake. The enemy team plants the bomb and here I'm 1 kill off my ultimate. If I can get a kill, I can actually res a teammate, get us in a 3v3 and potentially win the round. I pick up a Vandal on the ground and wait to push in with my teammate. I'm finally able to get a kill, which gives me my ultimate, but my other teammate died, and with too little time left, I decide to save the Vandal and play it safe. Still, you can see how, again, I got my ultimate by round 3, truly insane. Next, I want to highlight how once you actually have your ultimate, you want to switch up where you play on the map, since once you have your ultimate, you no longer need to farm those alt orbs. In the case of Sage on Split, I like to switch to playing the middle of the map. This allows you to wall it off at the start of the round, which not only helps you get mid control, but also gives you access to super fast rotates to either B or A site safely. As you can see in this case, despite a teammate dying on A, I can get there before the enemy team can get control of site or ramps. I then use my Sage ultimate to bait and distract the opponents while I swing off it. This gives me several kills, allowing my team to also trade kill the rest of the enemies, while also getting the res on my Cypher. The main idea here is once you have your ultimate, look to switch to a more important or centralized position of the map so you can get a higher chance of using your ultimate. Now, when approaching Split on attack, I look to follow the same methods we learned with Raze on Bind. I make sure to take the spike at the start of the round, and when we attack a site, I make sure to take the route that has the alt orb. You can see how I'm able to get 2 alt points without even having to get a kill. I then get 1 kill on the enemy jet into then dying shortly after. Both are worth 1 alt point each, and we see how insanely strong this alt farming strategy can be, as I have 4 alt points in the first round of the game with only 1 kill and 1 death. The very next round my team wants to attack a site, no problem. I make sure I have the spike, I take the alt orb along the way, I get the trade kill on the enemy Reyna, into then planting the spike, and am able to get a res off on the second round of the game. I hope you're starting to realize just how powerful this strategy can be. Let's move on to the newest map, Icebox. Here I'm playing Viper. Again, each map I'm using different agents just to show you guys how you can really do this with any of the agents. On Icebox, on defense, both alt orbs can actually be taken relatively easily. In this case, I go for the standard wall on B site. When no enemies peek, I throw my Poison Cloud and activate it to give me cover while I take the alt orb. Now, A site is actually even easier to farm alt orbs on. I place the standard wall, I then throw my Poison Cloud on the alt orb at the start of the round and rush to take it as soon as the barrier drops. In Viper's case, once you get your ultimate on defense, you want to use it on either site at the start of the round, while telling your teammates to stack the rest of the map while you solo hold the site. When attacking on Icebox, it's very difficult to get control of the A site orb, as the defense can just rush it and take it before you can really do anything about it. Instead, attacking B site will make orb farming a lot more consistent and easier. Otherwise, you know the deal by this point. When attacking, make sure you take the spike and look to take the alt orb along the way to the site. Moving on to Ascent, the dynamic is a bit more unique. You'll find on defense, farming the B Garage alt orb to be the easiest. For example, you can boombot out as Raze at the start of the round to scout for enemies and give you cover while you go for the orb. With Sage, you can slow and then wall it off to take the orb. You're starting to get the idea. However, the A site orb is much more difficult on defense since you have to take this dangerous path out in the open, and once you take the orb, the enemy can peek you from all sorts of angles. In fact, I would go so far as to say Ascent is the most attack favored in terms of this alt farming strategy. The A-Sight Orb is extremely easy to farm on attack, highly recommend you go for it. For example, you can Boombot straight away into then taking the orb. Or you could just flash out and then take it with Reyna. You could throw a slow orb, then take it as Sage. Overall, it's a pretty free orb. The B Garage Orb is a bit harder, but as long as someone flashes the first angle, you can move in and take control of B Garage, and once you have control, it's very risky for the opponent to swing on you while you take it. One super strong strategy as Sage is to get control of this orb in B Garage, then wall yourself off on the box afterwards for some cheeky peeks into B site that catch players off guard. The next map, Bind, on the other hand, is kind of the opposite of Ascent, where the orbs are a bit more favored for the defense. The Showers Orb is pretty easy to control with either an early Sage Wall into taking it, or just Boombot out as Raze into taking it. You can even Sova Recon Bolt into taking it. A lot of agents can exploit this orb on defense. The B-Side Orb is also pretty easy to take. A lot of controllers will favor this orb since they can simply smoke off into rushing it, but you can still just wall off into taking it as Sage, or just Boombot down Belong into taking it. You guys get the idea. On attack, it can be difficult to contest control of these orbs if the defense are rushing them with the previous mentioned strategies. Luckily, most of the player base hasn't caught on to the alt farming strats, so most of the time you can just take them along the way of your attack as they're left up. However, there are two strategies I would recommend. For the Showers Orb on attack, you can walk with your knife out into this corner and then wait here. If the enemy pushes out, you get a free kill and catch them off guard. Additionally, if they go for the orb, you can then just swing out once you hear this sound and go for the kill. For the B-Long Orb, you just peek with a teammate to get control of B-Long at the start of the round, then move upwards towards it. Make sure you clear the left-hand side, and then clear this little pocket in garden that players like to hide in. Once you've done these things, the orb is safe for you to take. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, although you can use this strategy on every single agent, still obviously some agents are going to be better at it than others. That's why we knew we had to create a tier list for you guys on what are the best agents to use for the alt farming strategy. In the S tier, you have Sage and Raze. Both of these agents not only have arguably the strongest ultimates in the game, but they also have abilities in their kit that allow them to take orbs safely by themselves. If you play either of these agents on the current patch and don't implement alt farming, then you're definitely doing something wrong. Moving on to the A tier, where you'll find Killjoy, Jett, Phoenix, and Brimstone. Killjoy could arguably be an S tier agent. She can use both her turret and alarm bot to help secure alt orbs safely, while her ultimate just has insane power on both attack and defense. Jett may be a surprise to some as she only has her smokes to help secure alt orbs safely, but her dash does let her get away if she's suddenly caught out taking one. Mainly though, it's because her ultimate is so much stronger than people realize. At only 6 ult points, it has a ton of uptime and allows you to go rounds without having to buy a gun, which just makes your economy insane. Next up is Phoenix. He's fantastic at securing alt orbs safely, with each of his abilities helping him do so. Also, his ultimate only costs 6 ult points, so ult farming gets pretty crazy on him. At the same time, his ultimate is very powerful, essentially giving you a second life and allowing you to frag out and pad those stats. Sova is next up, as his Recon Bolt allows him to take alt orbs safely, and his ultimate can be super useful in a variety of circumstances. Either using it to kill enemies trying to plant or defuse the spike, or just destroying enemies when they try to rush through a tight funnel, or getting free kills using his Owl Drone into alt combo. And lastly, Brimstone may be a bit of a surprise in the A tier, but both his smokes and molly give him the ability to take alt orbs safely on his own, while much like Sova, his ultimate can give him free kills when an enemy plants the spike or tries to defuse it. Dropping to the B tier, we have Breach, Reyna, and Viper. Now, Breach has a very powerful ultimate that should put him in the A tier, but the problem is none of his abilities really allow him to farm alt orbs in that safe of a manner by himself. Reyna is somewhat in the same boat, with only having her blind to farm alt orbs, and her ultimate being arguably less powerful overall compared to some of the ones in the A and S tier. Viper, on the other hand, can be great at taking alt orbs safely on her own, but her ultimate just simply isn't strong enough and is too situational to warrant being in the A tier. For the C tier, we have Skye and Omen. Skye's problem is the lack of abilities that can allow her to take alt orbs safely on her own, while also having a pretty mediocre ultimate compared to others on the list. And for Omen, although he can take the orb on his own safely with his smoke, flash, and possibly even using his teleport, the problem is that his ultimate requires 7 ult points while being very situational, or at the very least inconsistent with its impact. And lastly, we had to create the exclusive F tier for our boy Cypher. He has a 7-point ultimate, so it will take longer to activate, while his ultimate is also super situational. Firstly, you have to have a dead enemy body that is at most 30 seconds from death to even use his ultimate. And secondly, you also have to be in a situation where using your ultimate to gain information would actually be useful. Additionally, there is always going to be some risk to alt farming, and if Cypher dies, so does all of his utility. You're much better off just playing passive, looking to swing off your utility, than you are trying to actively farm alt orbs. Alright, remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out our hyper improvement system at skillcapped.com, link in the description below. Otherwise, you know the deal, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to show your support, and let us know you want to see more guides just like this. Also, leave a comment and let us know if you disagree with our tier list and if you think we misplaced an agent. We here at Skillcapped want to thank you for watching until the end, and we'll catch you in the next one.